Hello and welcome to another episode of Just Gay Stuff. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Jess.
And I just want to say that I am obsessed with everybody writing into us and loving us from not only Australia, but all over the world.
Yeah, crazy. So we've been asking since our very first Worst First Dates. Spoiler, if you didn't see the title, this is Worst First Dates Vol.5,
baby.
Yeah, so if you didn't see the title, that's what it is. And from our very first Worst First Dates, we have been so what's the word?
Inundated.
Inundated, that's the word. We've been so inundated with messages and stories that we actually had to create a separate folder in our inbox.
Yeah, we did. I think the fact is as well, like we've had people overseas being like, oh, these are my favorite episodes. And honestly, they're a favorite of ours too.
Yeah, I love these episodes. I feel like we get to really connect with everybody who listens to us, and the fact that you guys are so willing to share your stories with us makes me feel pretty warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah. And since Lauren works a fun 9-to-5 job now, Jess has chosen all these ones.
Oh yeah, I chose all these because I said to Lauren, it's time to do another Worst First Dates. I'm going to choose a bunch. So all the ones that Lauren is going to read, she is reading for the very first time.
So my reactions will be fun.
It's going to be hilarious. But I'm going to start because
do you want to kick us off, babe?
I am going to kick us off. Okay, so the very first story starts like this. I went on a date with a girl I had met at a coffee shop. It was my first lesbian date experience. I was femme and I guess she was what you would call STEM. This is an important fact later.
Okay.
We had organised for her to come to my house for dinner. I lived with a housemate that was really cool about having people over, so she made herself scarce the night my date was coming over. What a good housemate.
Yeah, legend.
When she got there, I opened the door to see that she had brought her brother along. She said she never goes to other people's houses without backup, quote unquote. I kind of understood, but I also thought a message or a heads up would have been nice.
Yeah. Yes.
I get it.
Look, I understand needing the backup, but again, that is why we don't meet at people's houses and we meet in public places.
Exactly.
Like at a shopping centre where there's so many people around and you don't have to bring your bro.
Yeah, you don't have to bring your bro to your first date.
Yeah.
Thinking it was only us, I'd only made dinner for 2 people. That ended up being fine as her brother sat in the living room for our whole date watching TV.
Weird.
It was awkward because I felt like we couldn't have big, honest conversations while someone else was around. After we finished eating, she insisted we go to a local bar that wasn't far from where I lived. I complied, thinking this would be a way better atmosphere to get to know her rather than just me, her, and her brother in my house.
So weird.
When we got there, we ordered drinks and she talked about money for the next hour, constantly pestering me about how much I made in my job.
Nah.
Then she kept making these weird comments about how I would look so much better if I shaved my head.
What?
So this girl was femme.
Yeah.
And the other, yeah, okay. So she clearly...
Not on, man.
She's not into femmes, but she didn't have to date you. Okay.
Yeah.
She knew what I looked like from all the times I went into the coffee shop. If she didn't like femme girls, she shouldn't have agreed to the date with me. Totally. After another hour of constant pestering about my looks and money...
An hour? Jesus.
A certain song came on in the bar and she instantly started crying because it was her dad's funeral song and it had only been a few months. Needless to say, this was the worst date of my life. I think ultimately we weren't compatible regardless of all the times we had flirted when I got coffee. I never went back to that coffee shop again.
Fair.
Very fair.
That was like a roller coaster of emotions from that date.
Sad you had to give up your coffee shop though.
Yeah, it is sad, but also people, you don't get to tell people how they should dress or what they like.
Yeah.
If you are not attracted to them, that way you don't have to agree to go on a date.
There's actually a few stories in this episode that is that.
Similar? Okay.
Yeah, but not with looks, just like telling people what they should do or what they should, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'm going to go on this.
Yep.
This one.
Go on this roller coaster
go on
with
this
me.
Next roller coaster. I matched with a girl on Tinder who seemed to be not like other girls I'd spoken to on there. If you know Tinder, you know it's not easy to get flowing conversation and people willing to even get a date with you.
That's so true.
Yeah. We chatted for a couple days on and off, but the conversation was good. Seemed to be open and honest, and we eventually decided to meet at the bar. Oh, yay, they got to a bar and not a house.
Oh, yeah. They got to a public space.
A public space. She looked extremely nervous, spent a lot of time on her phone, seemed anxious. She kept looking at the front door and people kept walking by us and saying hi to her, so I figured she just came here a lot. We got one drink in before whoever she was messaging arrived. She excuses herself for just a second, and 10 minutes later, she still isn't back.
Just a second, quote unquote.
Quote unquote. At this point, I'm sitting by myself on my phone, drinking my drink alone, wondering if my date is ever coming back. Well, that's sad.
It was sad.
The bartender comes down to me and asks if this was meant to be a date or if she was a friend, as he'd never seen me here with her before. I told him, yeah, it was supposed to be a date. He then goes, well, that was her dealer. She's here every couple of days meeting with him. Your drink is on me if you want to get out of here. I can guarantee she won't be back anytime soon. And if she is, you don't want to be around her. Well, I clearly got out of there real fast. She never messaged me again. Clearly, I was just accompanying her on a casual score.
That's pretty bad.
That's really bad. That's so sad.
I think there's this point where you're literally just being used by somebody.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I don't want to go to the bar and score by myself, so I'll drag someone else there with me.
Yeah, and that's just so sad, especially like you don't know this person's backstory or how long it's been since they've dated or if this is their first LGBT. Like you don't know what's going on behind someone else's scene. So for them to then end up in that situation is like really harrowing.
Okay, next story. I matched with a girl on Bumble and we seemed to hit it off really well at first, and she was really cute. In every picture, really cute.
No.
She asked if I wanted to go meet up at a brewery in the city at a certain time. I agreed, as I do like a good beer and am not one for fancy restaurants.
Fair.
Earlier the day of the date, I sent her a quick message saying how much I'm looking forward to it and confirmed the time that we were going to meet. She says she's looking forward to it too, but something has come up and she might be a little late. I offer to meet up 30 minutes later and she said not to worry, it would only be a few minutes, so let's still aim for the original time.
Oh no.
When I get to the place, I get there a few minutes early to stake out a table. Saturdays are the busiest night. I text her saying I'm early and where I am, but not to rush. She responds with, thanks, I'm just getting ready to leave my house, right on the time we were supposed to meet.
Oh.
I'm a little pissed because she already lived 45 minutes from the city, so I knew I was going to be sitting here waiting for her. I asked her if I can get an ETA and she said, Google is telling me about 40 minutes. Now I'm faced with the dilemma of do I sit by myself here like a goon for 40 plus minutes and wait for her, or do I just leave? Against my better judgment, I decided to stay and bought myself a couple of drinks and doom scrolled Facebook and messaged some friends. An hour later, she finally shows up, and while she is still cute, she didn't look anything like her photos. Whatever, I don't believe I'm shallow, so I'm happy to give her a shot. She's talking mostly about herself and not asking much about me, which is annoying, but not in itself a deal breaker. After chatting for a bit, we went to get another drink. On the way back from the bar, I somehow managed to trip and spill the entire beer all over my favourite shirt. She gives out a very half-hearted, oh no, before I excuse myself. I went to the bathroom and I tried my best to wash the beer out and held my shirt under the hand dryer to dry. I told the bartender my story and thankfully he comped me a drink. That was the best part of the night.
Oh no.
When I'm walking back, she's on her phone and looking concerned. Once the call is over, I ask her what's up and she says, my mother just called and said my great aunt is dying. I need to go. To this day, I'm still mad at myself for not calling her out on such a by-the-books bullshit cop-out, but in the heat of the moment, I was so stunned I couldn't think of anything and just said bye. I got home and realised that I waited 45 minutes at the bar by myself for a date that lasted 20 minutes. The following day, I sent her a message, which to this day is still sitting unread. Oh well, I guess it could have been worse, but it definitely could have been better.
Yeah, wow.
Even for that girl, though, I'm like, if you weren't that interested, like, why drive the hour?
Yeah, I was like, that's a long way.
But then I guess maybe something did happen, and because we're so ingrained to believe that those excuses are just lies.
I think it's hard because obviously through like the whole society with catfish and everything, like you said, we are ingrained to believe that, and probably more so in our community as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is hard. I think dating's hard anyway.
Dating is hard.
Dating is terrifying. Yeah. I remember before I met you, the looming thought of trying to date or trying to find somebody with similar interests to myself was like this looming doom, because I felt like no one would love me and I would never find someone who liked the things I liked to the same degree, and I was just going to resign myself to being alone forever.
Alone with your dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dating is hard.
Dating is hard.
And I think it's harder when you're out of the game and then have to be thrown back in.
Yeah. Especially when you've been out of the game for so long.
Yeah.
All right. Another story. Hi, Jess and Lauren. I'm not even really sure you could call this a date, but definitely was the worst experience of my life. Oh, okay.
This one, I know this one because obviously I picked these.
Yeah.
This one is a bit sad and could be a bit triggering for people because it's kind of like touching on like bullying and harassment. So I just want to give a little
trigger warning.
Yeah.
Skip if you're not in the right headspace.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it's not terrible. Like it is terrible, but it's not like dire, but it's still a sad circumstance.
Okay. It was the very first time I had ever used Grindr. I matched with a guy that went to the same school as me and was in my grade, but at school he was never out. You could say I was the token camp guy that everyone knew was gay, probably before I even knew. All my friends were girls. I took dance and drama as a subject. You get the picture.
Yep.
I always thought this particular guy was cute, even though he was a bit of a dick in high school. I actually thought it was quite weird that he picked on me quite a bit in high school, but then matched with me on Grindr like 2 years after. I mean, I can see how that happened.
I can see how it's weird, but then I can also, it's that thing, right? If we were all judged by who we were in high school, we would never move forward. Yeah.
Yeah. We spoke for about 2 weeks on the app, talking about people we knew, things we had in common, things from high school, and honestly, I felt like we had a very genuine connection. He finally asked to meet up for a date, and I was ecstatic. I'd be wanting to ask him, but honestly, I'm still quite a shy person, and the fear of rejection was real. So when he asked, I was so happy. I still remember the feeling. Well, that feeling left straight away as soon as we met. I walked into the bar that we had decided to meet at to see him at a table full of friends he had in high school, and as soon as they saw me, they all started laughing, including the guy. I knew straight away I had been the butt of a prank. His friends had made a bet for him to join Grindr and get me to go on a date with him. Apparently my heartbreak over this whole situation was only worth a measly $50. I was absolutely shattered. More so that I'd been so stupid to think that someone like that who had bullied me in high school had changed.
People can, but unfortunately for this person in this situation, it's not the case.
I also think, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, but that person also has a sadder life that they're still trying to live their high school glory days.
Yeah.
So
also, they mention this in the next part, but internal homophobia.
Yeah.
So much.
Props to you.
That's what my first thought was.
Yeah,
reading
that's what
this.
I was thinking too.
Yeah.
I do believe that to do that, you have to have some sort of internal homophobia.
Yeah.
Anyway, it hurt for a long time and I never used Grindr again. But I am now happily engaged to the man of my dreams, and that ridiculous prank is just a shitty drop in the ocean compared to my hubby-to-be. Thanks for listening.
That's
a cute ending. Okay.
Warm ending.
That ended nicely.
Thank God it was a warm ending because honestly, that was pretty
Heavy.
sad. I think if anybody is doing that to people, like what's in it for you? What, a laugh? Why is it even funny?
It's not funny. That's what I'm saying. They're just trying to relive their,
You're just a
their
dickhead.
glory days, and they're idiots.
Yeah. All right. This isn't a queer story, but I really wanted to write in from before I realized I liked girls and was still dating silly, silly boys. We met on the typical Tinder and went on a date to a sushi restaurant. He picked me up and throughout the whole date kept telling me he knew he was an asshole and he knew he was immature, but at least he was honest and self-aware, so I should be grateful for that, right?
Oh no, that's worse.
He told me he was super surprised to get a date after joining the app, considering his only reason for joining was to troll girls. But when he saw me, he thought I was cute and decided to give it a shot. He told many other stories that were all equally as horrible and immature. When grabbing certain plates off the sushi train, he kept insisting on the plates I should eat, and every time I grabbed one on my own, made a weird noise of disgust like he didn't agree with my food choices.
What the?
After we finished eating, he insisted we walked around the shopping centre and asked if I wanted to go into Time Zone. I really liked Time Zone and considered myself to be quite good. After asking what games in Time Zone I liked, he took me to all the ones he liked and insisted he played by himself because he didn't want me to get upset if he beat me because, quotes, boys are always better than girls at arcade games. He didn't make the rules, that's just how it was.
Oh, sure.
I hate that comment because I feel like I am good at arcade
You
games.
are good at arcade
and
games.
PlayStation games.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd. Sorry.
You should not apologize for being a nerd. This podcast is about authentically being yourself.
That's true.
So no apologies.
That's why
here.
you love me.
Yeah.
Aw.
Well, there's many reasons I love you, but yes.
Aw, cute. Well, I should have just left then. But instead, I watched him play for an hour, gather his tickets, go to the booth, and get a heap of useless shit he could have just bought for less money than what he spent at Time Zone. After that, I did the most typical thing and faked an emergency. Told him I had to go and legged it out of there. I ended up bringing my mum to take me home. Worst date ever. He was immature, he was an asshole, and he was a complete waste of that evening of my life.
Yeah, but in saying that, you have a great story to tell that is now on this podcast. The minute you started reading this story and this person was telling this story, I knew this person was already going to be worse than any person who isn't self-aware of them being an asshole.
Oh, no.
Because I'm like, I know of someone who dated someone who essentially did the same thing. This boy claimed to be a self-proclaimed asshole and be so self-aware, so you should be thankful, and then proceeded to control everything the other person did.
It's like saying that you know it's true makes it better. It doesn't.
No.
If you're self-aware, you know that you need to curb that behavior, not just lean into it, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
Rolling straight on.
Rolling on from that one. Hey, Jess and Lauren. This isn't a gay story, but I love your podcast. Oh, we love you. And these episodes, so I thought I'd give you one of my worst dates if you wanted to share it.
Always.
Of course we do.
Always. I love when people are like, if you want to share. What?
What? Of
I
course
always
we do.
want to share.
Yeah, these are
Have you listened to our podcast? We share everything.
It's too much maybe sometimes.
No, I think we are in the right.
The right
amounts of everything.
The right realm.
We're in the realm.
We're in the realm. We're in the realm of Worst First Dates Vol.5. Okay, getting back to this story. I met this girl as part of my mixed touch football team. We had on and off flirted for most of the playing season, and before the end, I had made a deal with myself that I'd ask her out on a date. Cute.
Yeah.
She happily agreed to go to breakfast with me on the coming Saturday. I picked her up from the address she gave me and took her to a nice cafe by the water.
That sounds like a dream.
That does.
I wish we had time to do that.
Yeah, time. What's that? It was my favourite place to go for breakfast, usually with my mates after the gym. Throughout the meal, she really threw me into a spin as she started talking so openly and sexually and telling me all these kinky things she liked to do.
Okay, forward.
For a guy, I wouldn't say I'm conservative, but the way she was saying and describing things was even making me uncomfortable, especially over breakfast.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And for a first date.
Is sexual conversation more a dinner conversation?
I don't know, but I feel like you can set the mood more in a dinner conversation.
As opposed to a breakfast conversation?
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Would you like some kink with your avo on toast?
No. But you could have kink with your red wine and steak.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Why is it socially more acceptable to be overly sexual and flirtatious over dinner? Or dessert? Definitely dessert.
I think...
Because you could eat dessert off a person.
That's true. You could eat avocado off a person. Might not taste as good.
Might not be as sexy.
Yeah. When we had finished, I realised that I left my wallet in my gym bag.
Oh no. Forgot your wallet.
Oh no. So stupid. After apologising profusely, she happily paid for our meal and I drove her home. When we got there, she invited me inside and I felt like I couldn't refuse as she had just done me a massive favour and paid for our breakfast, when really, I would have liked to because I asked her on the date.
That's fair. Chivalrous.
That's fair.
See, chivalry's not dead.
No, and look, we all accidentally forget things sometimes.
Although if I was
things all the time.
If I was to forget my wallet, that means I also forgot my phone and my driver's license and my Medicare card.
Driven in the first place.
Oops.
Things heated up pretty fast, and an hour later, after what I would describe as the dirtiest sex I've had in my life.
After breakfast.
Yep. Well, they've already had their morning coffee. It's fine. Her phone dinged, and when she read the messages, she started panicking. "You have to leave," she screamed at me, because her boyfriend had gotten off work early and was on his way home and will kick her out if he finds out. No.
I was waiting for your response on this because I've read all these. So.
No.
That's terrible.
No.
I don't condone any sort of cheating. Because
absolutely not.
If anybody has listened to us from day one, they know that it happened to me and to Lauren. And yeah, we don't condone cheaters.
No. Hold on, I need a moment.
Got to be open about this stuff. People might be into it if you're open about it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, also her boyfriend needs to be in on it.
The communication on everything. This was the first time I had ever heard of a boyfriend, and then I realised I just slept with her in her boyfriend's bed at her boyfriend's house. Oh, gosh.
It just goes from bad to worse.
It does. I legged it out of there so quick that when I reversed out of the driveway, I accidentally took out the mailbox. I've done that.
How's she going to explain that one away?
Yeah.
You've done that, have you?
I've reversed out of the mailbox, not...
You reversed out of the mailbox.
I mean,
what were you doing in there?
I've reversed the car over my aunt's mailbox.
Why am I not surprised? You're like the worst driver I know.
Yeah, when we first met, you said I got my license out of a cereal box.
You did.
And I'm not the worst driver you've ever met.
To this day, you keep proving that point.
No, I've gotten better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
You've said so in the past.
Keep going.
When I got home, I found a nice ding in my back bumper.
Nah,
Both of them. What an adventure that was. The worst part was after this, she kept texting me at random times, telling me her boyfriend wasn't home. I could have taken advantage of this situation, but I didn't. I ended up blocking her number. Good on you for not taking advantage of the situation.
Good on you for having morals and respect. I love that.
She must have somewhat got the picture, because when the next season of football started, she showed up to one training session, realised I was still playing and never came back. I wouldn't say it was the absolute worst day. It was definitely an adventure. But I think the worst part about it was the lying and the constant reminder of it from the damaged rear bumper of my car.
Yeah, that sucks.
That was a lot.
Okay, I think this is the last one for this episode.
Okay.
Hi, Jess and Lauren. This is my shameful Tinder date story.
Don't worry, we've all got one.
I'm a guy who met a guy on Tinder. He seemed really nice and on the app kept conversation flowing nicely. Because as we know, good conversation is hard to find on a dating app.
It is.
It's usually,
really is.
Hi, how are you? Good, how are you? That's it. ... When we finally met up for a date, his pictures were easily 10 years younger than he was, which is fine. I probably would have swiped on him regardless because I don't mind an older man's. He was half an hour late and after apologising over and over, ordered us drinks without asking me. I don't drink, but initially thought the gesture was nice.
Yeah, he was trying to be nice, so...
Yeah, it might change. Your perception might change.
Oh, okay.
I had already told him that I was sober when talking to him on the app, which I reminded him of, and he replied, I can never remember which person is what.
Oh, no.
Which immediately made me feel shit. Okay, he was talking to more than one person, but that really stung. And then he told me he thought it was rude of me to not drink a drink that he'd bought even though I was sober. I reiterated how important my sobriety was to me and watched him drink both drinks. He then told me story after story, everything in his life down to all the other guys he was talking to. I think I counted about 7, not including me. Ouch, that stung again. I finally got the shits because he wasn't letting me get a word in sideways. So I ended up just blurting mid-sentence, do you want to even let me talk and get to know me, or should we end the date here?
Fair.
He then apologised again and asked me a few questions about myself. The whole time I was speaking, though, he was texting on his phone. I break again. Do you even care what I have to say? He got agitated and replied to me in a half yell. I'm listening, but because you wanted to talk, I'm writing down all the things I want to tell you when it's my turn to talk again.
Oh, no.
I essentially called the date there. Clearly, we weren't going to find common ground, even in easy conversation. Oh well, he had 7 other guys who he could piss off in the meantime, while trying to find his forever after. I often wonder if he did.
No, he found 7.
He probably worked his way through all those people and pissed them off too.
Yeah, probably. Oh my gosh.
Well, there was a magical number 7 worst first dates.
Yeah.
We hope that you enjoyed them.
I did.
I did.
I definitely did.
I think the highlight of this one was...
How could you even... You can't choose.
I don't like any of them, to be honest. I think they're all terrible. That's why you wrote them in. But I think the gentleman who had the dirtiest sex of his life and then took out a mailbox for me.
Oh, yeah.
That was the highlight of this
That's pretty
episode.
funny.
Well, we hope you enjoyed it.
Sure do.
We hope you got a laugh out of it, which is more importantly. That's why we share these stories and have a big old laugh together about some of the shitty things that happened in our lives.
Just fun to have a little giggle and look back at the silly things that have happened.
Yeah. Well, in the next few weeks, we have some really exciting episodes coming up. So
Sure do.
please stay tuned. And until next time,
You better remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.